Now I'm beginning to glue or use silicone adhesive to begin laying the track permanently. And I've already done these two turnouts back to back, glued them down earlier today and weighted them down. They seem like they're in a good place. Double checked to make sure that my the hole in the turnout control is over the hole in the roadbed. This one I'm not using. Originally, in my original design, this turnout had a small about a 2-inch straight piece between the two. Now that I've got it set up and I can see more in real life what things are looking like, I decided to move this back 2 inches, give myself just a little more space. And I'm not going to use this original. As you can see, it gets really close to the coal bin there. So I'm gonna do a slight curve here instead. Maybe not even as much as what I've cut out there. Probably to go right there. There'll still be room to put this building back there, but it'll just have to be repositioned. My issues are trying to get enough lead here in this siding to do the work that I need to do at the mine and still not get into the engine shed back there in the back. So I've got it backed up about as far as I can get it, and I've sighted this as well as I can with a piece of track. It looks like that's going to be just about right, and I have decided I'm going to keep this. I like the way it looks. I like the way it's weathered. It lines up well with everything. I've rolled the cars through them, and everything clears these chutes. And so I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to leave it like it is. So what I'm going to do next is, now that I'm sure that's where I want that piece to go, I'm going to take my pencil and draw a perimeter around this. And what I'll do after that is I will come back and I will make a cutout in the foam tabletop here, and this will simply just slide down in that cutout. I'm going to leave that removable for the time being. I'm not going to make a permanent connection here so that I can remove it. There's going to be a lot over the next days and weeks. There's going to be a lot of flipping this thing up and down and working on the underside, and there's nothing that this is going to obstruct, and really nothing is going to hit, but I just don't want to be jarring it around any more than I have to. So I'm going to go ahead and make the cutout and make sure that this connection works, but I'm going to leave this removable for those purposes. I've also got some little lighting on these poles here. I've got to make some holes in the plywood down below to run my lighting wires into. So that's my project for now. I'll check back in just a minute after I've got that done. Well, I love it when plans work out. I can chalk that up as a success. So I cut this out. I drilled my 2 holes for my wires to drop through. I'm not going to worry about dropping the wires through right now because this is in no way permanent, but this is how it goes. You notice I've built in some topography back there, little height in the scenery, and this is not going to be flat by any means. And I have to keep the track level with no grades at all because of the way that it modularly moves around. One end has got to connect to the other, and then vice versa when I switch it around. So can't have any height in this portion of the layout. So the track is going to be flat, but the rest of the scenery will have some gradients to it, and that looks like that matches up just like I wanted it to. And so my next plan of attack is to do the same thing to the rest of the turnouts on the layout, and I'll be doing that. It won't take very long to do that. They lay down nice and easy, and I've got weights that I use to weight them down until they're good and fastened. I'm going to put down all the turnouts that I can put down that don't have track between them. The ones that do have track between them, I'm probably going to go ahead and install that track as well, because I don't want the hassle of having to try to fit a track in between two attached turnouts. So I'm not necessarily trying to get all the track laid today, but I am hoping to get all the turnouts and the track between any turnouts laid today. So that's my next plan. I'll check back with you when I have gotten a little further along. So to catch you up on what I've done since the last video, I installed all of the turnouts, or all but one of the turnouts, and got them glued down, weighted down, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. The car seemed to roll over it just fine. I was one turnout short. I didn't have enough Y turnouts, and then I remembered mock-up that you might remember from an earlier video, where I made a mock-up to determine how to engineer these switch pull mechanisms, and there was a Y on that, so I've taken that off. I always meant to do that. That's why I just lightly glued them down onto that, because I knew that I would eventually use them for the actual layout. So I came up with my final Y. It goes right here, and I've got this little space, about 2.5 inches there between the two turnouts. And so I thought I would just, since I didn't video any of the rest of it, do a little short video here of how I'm laying the track and putting these short pieces in between the turnouts. So as I mentioned before, this AnyRail program marks really exactly where the track connection points are. So I can use that to measure with. So I've got my rail nippers here. I always use rail nippers. They'll leave a good flat side on one end of the track. And this track was previously cut with the rail nippers facing the opposite direction. So I want to get that flat. And then I'm going to take off the last tie, so I have some room to work with the track connectors. And then I'm just simply going to measure, and it doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly exact, so I'm not going to go to any great pains to measure this exactly the way it needs to be. I'll do some better fitting later, but somewhere right around in here is where the program says that I should cut this rail. So I'm going to do that now. And we'll see how close that came out to being correct. Now I'm going to remove the ties on the opposite side for the same reason. And I will use those ties again, so I'm not throwing them away. They're going to come back in just a few minutes. And here's something else I've been doing and plan to do with the entirety of this railroad is I'm cutting some connection points between the ties. Might not be the smartest thing to do with a short piece like this. I hope I don't lose any gauge, but I'm spreading them out just a little more and creating some interest in variations of how the ties are laid, so they're not all laid out the same, because this is a backwoods type layout. All right, so now I can see that this rail is ever so slightly longer than the other, so I'm going to give it a little nip. See how that works. Lay it out again. All right, that looks good. And that looks good. Just to make sure we've got a good surface there to match when this connection is made. And what I'll use those ties for that I did not throw away is when I get back into sections like this, I'm going to slide an extra tie up in there. Probably put it at a crooked angle just so it looks a little authentically misplaced. So I just, when I'm doing that, I either take the razor or the nippers and I just cut off these little ears there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not going to sand it or anything like that. Once it gets covered with ballast and dirt and gunk and whatever else I choose to throw on it, you'll never know it. So I got to push down on it just a little bit to get it to go up under there where the fish plate is. And I'm not even gluing these in place. You can see how tightly they're going in. I'm not gluing them in place. When I ballast, that'll hold them just right. And honestly, as I said before, I don't want these ties to be straight anyway. So if it falls out of whack between now and the time that I ballast it, I don't care. There. Now those fish plates hold it up just a little, hold the rail up a little higher. So once I get it in place, since I'm not reattaching the fish plates and they've got those little spike nubs standing up, I'll push it down into the foam just a little bit so it doesn't create a high spot in the track. And again, it doesn't matter if that tie sits lower than any of the others. And here's another couple over here that I'd replaced to make sure they're pushed down good. All right, so back to the one at hand. I'm going to take my rail joiners and cut 4 of them. And a word about these turnouts in this track in general. I have not bought any of this retail, not the first piece of it. I've known I was going to do this layout for a long time. And so over the last couple of years, just every time I see someone with some extra track or turnouts on Facebook Marketplace, the On30 page, or eBay, or wherever it might be, I've just been grabbing it, not even caring if it's a right hand or left hand or Y or 36 inches of straight or something that someone's already cut up. I've just been collecting it, knowing that I will use it. And come out a little cheaper that way than having to buy it all retail. What I have discovered though is I probably don't have enough Ys for the layout, so I may have to break down and purchase some of them. So now that I have gotten it in place and I'm happy with the way it's laying there, my silicone adhesive, pull this up one more time. And it doesn't take much of this. Stuff really grabs and holds nicely. Oh, yeah, I better get that little piece too, so I'm going to pull that out. A little dab there. I'm going to take my putty knife and smooth it out so it's not standing high. It'll still grab it, I promise. That other track I couldn't take loose if I wanted to. Thing that I glued the other day. So we'll go through the same procedure we did before. Push these back together, making sure that both rails get in the joiner. Do the same here. Have to be. I'm holding this up. I don't want to get that adhesive anywhere near that moving point there. So getting both of those in, making a good feel for that. That feels good. And I almost got it almost got it where the program said to put it. So now I want to weight it down. Use my 3-2-1 blocks to do that. And it doesn't take this long at all to dry. So in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll take some of these pieces of track that I have left over from before, and I'll make these cuts just on either side of the tie. Well, there we go. Pull that off. Shave off the little ears. And let's see, where do I need to put this? So I've got a little space right there that I think I want to fill, and I can tell that there's a buildup of, I mean, there's quite a bit of adhesive right there. So I'm going to pull that adhesive out where the tie is going to go, because I sure don't want it to sit up that high. And again, it doesn't matter if this tie sits down low. I'm literally digging out a little trench there, but I don't care. Low is not going to hurt anything. If it sits up high, I'll have a high spot in the track there, so I don't want that. So let's see what happens if I slide that through. Just give it a little push down. There we go. And again, I don't want a straight angle. I'm not trying for mainline standard gauge look here. I'm going for backwoods. Any way you can make it work kind of look. So that looks nice and crooked. I think I need one here. Dig that out just a little bit like I did before, with whatever I can find to dig with. I don't know if this one actually needs to be done, but just for purposes of demonstration, I'll go ahead and do one more. Let's cut the dog ears off. Push down. There we go. Now what I'll do now that I've got the track in place and I no longer need this template is I'll just go back like I'm doing now, and I will pull it out from under the track. I'll leave some of the bigger sections just to give me a visual idea of where these buildings are supposed to be. And there's that plastic I didn't cut that I should have cut out earlier. I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. Okay. Everything looks good. That was my final turnout for this entire module. So my next step is to finish laying these long pieces between the turnouts, and I will be done with the track work. I can run some trains on it and make sure that all my connections are good, that I don't have any high spots or burred ends of rails or anything like that. I want to make sure I get that taken care of at this stage, so I don't have to go tear out track after I've got the ballast and everything else in. So that's what I'll be doing for the next few hours, and I'll check back with you later. It's starting to look like something around here. I got the rest of the track laid that I could lay. I ran out of rail joiners, actually. I had not planned on laying this much track this quickly, and I've got some rail joiners coming, but some of these stubbed out lines are just that right now. I have tested all my track. I've got a couple of locomotives and some cars running on them to make sure that we have good track work, no derails. I've also done the same thing to this coaling facility here and the speeder shed / water tower. I cut them out, cut out the openings in the foam tabletop, and I have fit these in, and I've tested the clearances on all sides, and everything seems to be working fine. So I've got the coal mine set in its place. I've got those two set in their place. I didn't build this structure, and I didn't build this structure. I saw them on eBay and I grabbed them up. I'm using those right now as placeholders just for my future models. I do like these structures. I probably will use them somewhere on the railroad, but this is just not their permanent location right now. I've got Rusty going, and I've got Betsy going. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get a second phone or a video camera or something. I was planning to video running the locos this morning and realized that I'm using Bluenami on both of these and can't do the video and the Bluenami at the same time. So she is fired up and running. At some later date, I will figure out some way to make a video of them running. But just for now, I thought I'd show you what kind of setup we've got. So next thing on the agenda is start working on those fascia switch mechanisms. Get these turnouts where they will work from those switches. I pulled the ties off of that section of track, left a couple in the middle there just to keep the gauge, but that's where the engine house will eventually go. And of course I'll lay some wood flooring around the track back there, and will not be using the cross ties in that section. I think I mentioned before, but I did ultimately use the track that I had previously installed in this diorama, so that diorama still sits complete even with track. These do not. And if you remember me showing the diorama before, it used to have track running in front of it, but due to the nature of where it sits on the sorry, I'm having to pretend push along the trains, but you understand. Due to the fact that this sits in front of a turnout with a slight curve variant to it, I was not able to use the track that I had installed in the front of this diorama, and I knew that even from the get-go that I wouldn't be able to do that. I just laid that track because I knew that it would be a year or so before I started this layout, and I did want to be able to make some photos and put some trains in front of it, so I went ahead and laid that track on the diorama. Got to get some coal. I've got some coal that I bought off of eBay, I believe, a year or so ago. Little lumps of coal that I beat up with a hammer and used for my coal. So now that I've got this installed, I will try to get some coal up there on the platform. Also, a little more coal around the mine area. And I've got a little guy down there who's just anxious to get to work, and I've got his mine cart that I've not painted, weathered, or anything yet but eventually it'll sit up there on top. Got to get some lighting installed, got to get my lighting going, and get these switch mechanisms in place. So next time, if all goes as planned, we'll be running some trains on this. Look forward to seeing you again. If you're liking what you're seeing, like and subscribe. I'd love for you to take this journey along with me. And until next week, happy railroading.